have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Crypto Night Show. Your host Superman in the house. Of course, this show is going to be about PulseChain ready for takeoff. Does look like there's some sentiment changing happening here at this level, price level. We are seeing PulseChain perform at least slightly better, if not at some key levels. So we're going to check out all the PulseChain charts today relative to Ethereum and Bitcoin, of course. And see where this might lead. We also, of course, got ProveX and the pre-RVX token on testnet. So things definitely moving forward there, but definitely seeing a little bit of pep in the old PulseChain chart. So is it ready for takeoff? Is it going to have another couple of day rally ahead of us into the next week? We shall see. Obviously, subject to some of the geopolitics and around at the moment, perhaps, or maybe it just shines its light during those challenges. We will see. But get your thoughts into the chat here on YouTube and also on X. Leave your comments. Really appreciate that. And of course, if you haven't joined, subscribe to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. We're streaming on 3 YouTube channels: Crypto Night Show, PulseChain X, and Superman Crypto is the 3rd YouTube channel. And also, if you're on X, don't forget to smash the follow. Heading up towards 1,500 followers, as you guys know, rebuilding those channels. Now, a big shout out. We had a new member of Discord today, so a big shout out there. And if you haven't joined up to Discord, links in the video description on YouTube and also pinned to the top of X. You'll go through the Whoop short store to join up. There are 2 different memberships. There's the general membership, $12.50 a month. So that's pretty awesome. What's that? About 35 cents a day. Or you can go for the full Monty there and go to the Strategy Club, get all of the hottest intel, and that is just over $1 a day. So join up to that today as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get into it, folks. And as you know, this is our 3rd stream today. So we're really trying to ramp back up into the good old coverage that you used to from the Crypto Night Show after, moving country and for a while at least, and also going on holidays. So, and being ill as well. So we've had a bit of a whammy in a 6 to 8 week period. So it's been pretty crazy times. We've got Crypto Dan in the house there. Hey, Superman. Good to see you, Crypto Dan. Big shout out. Welcome to the chat as well. Yeah, this should be a bit of fun. And I do want to get your opinion. So make sure you get in the chat there in the comments. And if you're on the replay gang, leave your comments there. I do always respond to those as well. So get in on that one. All right, should we kick it into gear? Should we get into the market and see where we are at? So let's have a look at the crypto markets right now. So we're sitting at 2.38 trillion right now, down 0.8%. So we've got a slightly down day. I'm just going to look at Bitcoin now. Bitcoin's at 67,300, down 0.7%, about halfway in the trading range that we've been seeing between 63.5 and 74. And then we've got Ethereum there just at 1954, below the 2050 mark. So in the zone just below that, trading. And that is down 1.2% today. So obviously showing a bit of weakness there. And we'll be interested to see how this performs tomorrow, US time, because tomorrow will be Sunday in the US. And also following that day, the Monday, the opening of the stock exchange. And of course, how that's going to view the oil and the Strait of Hormuz issues going in geopolitics there with the Iran conflict. So that's kind of how we're going to be following the next couple of days. So we've got HEX Creator in house there. Reposted the stream. I appreciate that. Big shout out. Yeah, just take a moment to hit the repost button. That'd be really, really cool. All right. So let's get into it. So as you can see that Bitcoin and Ethereum are down slightly and in a new range there, particularly for Ethereum. But let's jump over to PulseChain and have a little look at what's going on here. So this is the 24 hours. We've actually got a little bit of pep going on in the whole PulseChain, a little bit of takeoff going on. So we've got Pulse at the moment. We're on day 1,031. Pulse itself, which is the feed coin for PulseChain, obviously the wrap version there for DeFi, is up 4.41%. So we're looking pretty interesting there. And we've got the price of Pulse at the moment at 40103. So we've managed to once again lose that zero of 5 zeros and get back to 4 zeros, which is kind of a very peppy to the upside type of takeoff type of environment. We're coming off the bottom, but it looks like we're really trying to make a move higher, which is pretty interesting. We obviously had the ProveX testnet go out. I think the market liked that. That was seen as a bullish sign there from Richard Hart. So we did cover that earlier today. We've got PulseX at the moment, still a bit sluggish, still a bit slow behind, but of course it's actually doing better than Pulse. So that's what you'd expect to see for PulseX with the leverage play on Pulse, the number one DEX on Pulse, and having the buy and burn right at 8.64%, just slowly burning away. So that is looking still good in terms of Pulse. So it's a peppy sign, a bullish sign, a takeoff sign, but of course is still relatively cheap. So we're still coming off the bottom. And so there's still a lot of volumes there. 5 zeros can leave it 745. So pretty crazy stuff. Now, looking at incentive token at the moment, we're at 47 cents. And that's been really peppy, up 10%. We know there's some key players typically hold ink, like Firewell and others in the past. And so, it's still got a bit of that peppy power. And in terms of liquidity, we know that liquidity is the largest liquidity is Pulse, then PulseX, then Ink, and then the smallest one is HEX. So we should, all things equal, see a smaller pool typically pump. But of course, once again, that means that we still need demand greater than supply for any particular token, right? So different players are moving different tokens at different times despite the liquidity sizes. So HEX at the moment is sitting at just over 0.2 of a penny. It is back over there. It was below 0.2 of a penny only just a few hours ago. So that is showing a bit of pep in it, right? Up 9.5%. And interesting stuff there. eHex, which was below 0007, is now at 0007. So that's pretty rise. But eHex lagging well behind it. PHEX, many people asking, why is eHex so far separated from PHEX? Obviously people talking about Richard Hart's sign of approval over on PulseChain, potential long-term view of Magic Carpet Ride. But why in the short term is it such a divide? Why is one pulse one pulse on or PHEX equal to 2.89 eHex? Why such a huge divide? Does seem pretty crazy. I think that if you inverse that, that's about 0.34 or something. It does seem a bit crazy at the time. Remember, so that's going to be pretty interesting. Will people chase value there? I note that Fat Sammy, another influencer space, has been following eHex pretty closely and has some pretty firm opinions about where that's heading. So we might check up on that later on as well. So big shout out to Fat Sammy out there doing some nice TA work. So we've got HEXvader in the house there. Hey gang, good to see HEXvader, and welcome to everybody else. So this is kind of the overview where we're at the moment. So you can see we're getting a little, with Pulse leading the way, back at 4 zeros again, that we're kind of getting a attempt to push the market up, attempt to get a bit of a sentiment change, a bit of upward momentum. Are we coming off the bottom? Is that where we're going, right? So so that's what we're looking forward to. And obviously we got down to 5 zeros, I think 7,800 on the low. So we actually recovered somewhat back from there, 30% or so. So where are we going from here? So let's zoom in on that. So as you can see, we've got the wider market just down slightly on the majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Ethereum, of course, is probably the best benchmark for PulseChain because the PulseChain is a full system stake fork of Ethereum based on the 10th of May 2023, right? So give you a context of that, and launched a few days later on the 30th of May. And here we are 1,031 days later. And of course, also had to take into account we had the SEC after PulseChain for 2 years, right? So that's all done now since July last year, right? So defeated there by Richard Hart. So we've got a lot of history in the backwaters. Now, where does PulseChain go? Are we really at the beginning of a takeoff? And in other words, are we going to sit having that long-term downtrend for 1,000 days? Are we going to head up for a couple hundred days at least, if not 500 or plus days for an uptrend? That's got everyone's hunting, right? So that's kind of where we are right now. And obviously with Ethereum still playing a key role with the Magic Carpet Ride, all that sacrifice money in ETH, it's sitting out there. If you're in the camp where you think Richard will eventually use it one day, well, we're probably all thinking that Ethereum will at least have to get over 5K. And Richard has mentioned in his Christmas video around 10K being pretty interesting. So that's something further down the track, I think. Some of that can be used in the short term to do little pumps, little mini pumps. It's always a possibility. And of course, we also have Liberty Swap now with a privacy solution, Railgun, and all that sort of stuff coming to the party and allowing people to come in with big amounts and do some magic on the chain and privacy. So instead of being front run all the time through the official bridge. So we've got a few things going on there right now. All right, so let's jump into the charts and have a deeper dive here and have a look at PulseChain. So PulseChain here on the weekly, this is Rat Pulse, of course, is sitting at 401034. You can see we've got a nice strong green candle here. We're coming up from the weekly on the RSI. We bounced off essentially just below 30, about 29.19, and we're now up at about 34 on the RSI. So RSI there always giving us the idea of when something's overbought or oversold. In this case, if it's down the bottom below 30, typically oversold. If it's above 70, typically overbought, right? It gives you a good idea there, a great tool for anybody, particularly new people, to come into crypto to see where things are at. So, arguably we've got a long way to go. If we did get a rally in the RSI, we've got plenty of room to move on the weekly. So that sort of that longer time frame as well. So obviously we can go out even further to monthly. This is the monthly chart for Rat Pulse. And you can see that we had all those brutal 7 months down, even more brutal than the wider market, which was down 6 months. We got 7 months on the old PulseChain, and now we got a reversal month so far, kicking off nice and green. So that's kind of where we are right now. And if we're coming off the bottom, that 7,800 mark with 5 zeros, we're up about 35%, as I said earlier. So that's kind of the where we're starting to get a bit of a takeoff going on here. Still a bit of work to do, though. Still a bit of work to do, and I think that we're probably looking around the 1250 mark to really start to break up to some higher lows, things like that. So that's kind of the play on that. Now we can zoom down a bit further. We're going to go to the daily now, and we can see that we're over the 21 moving average. A very key big mark there for traders is the 21 moving average, and we're solidly above that. So it's looking real sweet, guys. Looking real nice for at least a modest takeoff for the old PulseChain. So I'm liking where things are going, and we've got plenty of room in the RSI. It's just sitting at 52. So you got to think things are looking pretty good on the long time frame for a move higher. Definitely got the room to move. We're definitely seeing a bit of a sentiment change, and we've got thin liquidity, right? Relatively thin liquidity on the old PulseChain, sitting around about 4 million or so. So let's go have a look at the Pulse liquidity. And we can see that it's sitting at around 4 million exactly right now. And so that's the biggest of the Richard cores. And we're seeing a bit of a move there. So kind of cool. And interestingly enough, a lot of it's in V1, right? So not getting the rewards for the old LP pools like V2, sitting in that V1 pool. So you can decide who's supplying a lot of that liquidity, but that is pretty interesting. So on the moving average, looking pretty good. So everything looks looking really nice. Let's go to the 4 hourly. This is really sort of the trader's view here as well. And we can see even on the 21 moving average, we're looking pretty good with the trader's view here as well. Still got room to move on the RSI as well at 59. So we could slowly keep tracking up here on the old PulseChain. And we've only just got above the 4 zeros. 1,000 mark. So, it's still around about a 10x just to get back to the mean sacrifice price. Not saying that we're going to get there necessarily soon, but definitely we've got some higher prices, maybe back up to the a 2 to 3x on that move. So we could get back to, 2,000, 3,000. Now we can use some tools to try and estimate that, like Fibonacci extension, etc. like that. We might do that as well. But first of all, we're going to just check out all the charts and see where they are. There's definitely got more room to move. Looking really strong over the 21 moving averages on all these time frames, which is great. So that's PulseChain. Let's jump over to PulseX. Now, PulseX at the moment is sitting in terms of the pulse ratio is at 0.71, right? So, long off. Last time it was close to 1-to-1, was way back in February 25. And we had a nice little go at it in December 25 as well. But we are down pretty much at 0.71. PulseX to Pulse, right? So you're getting Pulse is still the stronger value. We've had a couple of spikes down to 63, 64 on that ratio. But here we're sitting at about 71% of Pulse right now for PulseX. RSI down here at 45. But let's have a look at the US dollar price. US dollar price there, obviously green for the month as well. And let's see where we're up on that US dollar price. So US dollar price, we're up about 35%. On Pulse, remember, we're up about 50% on PulseX. So still getting that 15-point advantage in PulseX. And why not? I mean, it's got the buy and burn. It's got the incentive pools, right, on the PulseX DEX. And also, if we go to the liquidity on the old PulseX, we can see that we're at about 4.6 million. So we actually got a bit thicker pools, but actually, a lot of opportunity there with with the the DEX incentives as well as the buy and burn activity. So that's kind of where we are with PulseX. So we're going to keep a lookout for that. We're certainly on the time frames. That's the monthly. We're all the way down at 40. No surprises there, given we're down for 7 months. We also got, obviously, on the weekly here, we've got a bounce just like we do on PulseChain, bouncing off 30, slightly higher, up at 34 there at the moment. So a nice little move there. Plenty of move to room for a massive takeoff recovery. Will we get it? That's the question. Will we get it? Now, before we get into some key resistance areas, we're probably up at 85, 8600 for the next move. And then after that, we're probably looking at 1000, right? Losing that zero and get to 1043. So we've still got about 2 more moves, 2 more levels there to move higher. And then the next one would probably be somewhere above 1500. So, we've got to get above all those levels as we move forward here, but definitely got the room to move pretty aggressively on the longer time frames. On the daily, we're down at 30 on the RSI, and we're ticking away up at 48. Now, I don't have a moving average here, so let's add one in. Let's add an EMA, and let's put that on a 21-day as well. Nice little traders number. And let's go there. We're going to put on the same turquoise. I always like turquoise for 21 moving average. And we're going to do just spice that up a little bit manually and go for gold. So we are just sitting just above the 21 moving average right now. Pretty interesting time. So really indicative of a takeoff happening, looking kind of strong here. Obviously, we've got to close nicely. We did close slightly yesterday over 21 moving average. We were there a couple of days ago on the 5th. And we got plenty of room in the RSI 48 to get a nice move here, which is pretty exciting. Even on the daily, we've got higher lows settling in on the 6th compared to that was back on the 1st of March. So, yeah, things are looking, kind of tasty here on the old PulseChain. And it got to have a bit of optimism there. Let's look at the short time frames with 4 hour. And we can see you can see that structure a lot easier there. Had good support at 6,300, got all the way down here at about 5,800. And of course, this flash crash over here, this big selling volume back on the 23rd there, we got all the way down quite severely down to 5,000, for goodness sake. So at least we're up off the bottom there. We're over the 21 moving average again, and we've got some room to move on the RSI. So things still looking quite intact here for the move higher with PulseX. Moving to the daily again, that would give us a lot of room to move and zigzag high here. So I think we've got some optimism there. 8,500, probably the next target in terms of what was previously resistance. And we could really start to push that. We break that, and then we're, pretty much going over that 1,000 mark as well next. 1,050 kind of gives us that next zone. So feeling pretty good about that with the old PulseX. Moving to Ink Token, we're also on the weekly. We're coming off the bottom as well for 28. So you can see what I mean by takeoff. RSI is giving us a good chance. We were slightly oversold, and it's bouncing takeoff there. And we're also moving against the majors, right? The majors are down slightly, but we are looking like we're going up. So it's kind of cool. Incentive token doing very well indeed. Let's have a look at the pump off the bottom there. We had a nice little pump of about 46%, not quite as good as PulseX, but not far behind it with a couple of points. And we've got plenty of room to move here. So PulseChain looking pretty attractive. Have we got all those big sellers out? The sacrifices sellers, there's probably still a few out there, no doubt. I haven't checked all the wallets for those. Obviously, CryptoSolve does a great job of tracking some of those. But in any case, we are getting some pretty positive move here as well. So looking good there. Let's jump into the daily. We can see we're also at 55, so we've got a lot of room to move. This is just looking pretty good here as well to break higher. So, 50 cents, obviously a key mark there, and then something around about 57 cents or so, 57 to 60 cents after that. So 50 cents, let's say, and 60 cents, kind of the next natural targets for breaking up there. And we've probably got enough room to start attacking those. Definitely had a lot of resistance at 55 cents. A lot of support, I should say, 55 cents. So those are some key targets we want to break down there on INC, and definitely has been a better performer today, right? In any case, it's been up 8.5%. You can see PulseX up 6.8% right now and 3.6% for Pulse. So INC there really leading the way there. Some interesting, I'm always a little bit more critical of the holders of INC. Obviously, that used to be the big incentive token for V1 farms. So yeah, just a lot of big whales accumulated, a lot of good stuff there, and we'll see what they do with it. But certainly it seems to be rebounding pretty well right now. And if we have a look at the liquidity of INC, which is down here a bit here, we can see that it's sitting at 2.75 million, so a lot less than Pulse at 4 million and PulseX at 4.7 million. So we're at 2.75, a lot easier to move, and we're definitely seeing that in the charts. And remember, a lot of it's in the V1 pools, as we would suspect, where it got created from, right, essentially, in the farms. So that's INC. Now let's jump over to the 4-hourly view just to quickly see if the momentum's going to turn. Well, it's a little bit hot here. Obviously, it's been the best mover so far, but it's also getting up to 63. Still got room to move, of course, but may face quite a bit of resistance at that 50-cent mark. I think that's probably be a bit of a challenge. So if it does break that, that'd be pretty exciting in the future. But certainly a PulseX there looks like it's still got quite a bit of room to move by comparison at 60 there. And a bit higher, right? So looking pretty good. Now let's add in a 21 moving average as well, and let's see how that's going. So we're going to set that up. So it's ratchet it up to 21 moving average. Let's go to the style there. Let's turn it into turquoise, which is my favorite color for it. And you can have your own color, of course. And we're looking well above that too. So we're looking really good with the old INC. Like I say, I think the challenge will be 50 cents, and by the RSI, they're moving up. But that being said, we've got plenty of room on the daily for it just to cool down a little bit once maybe it gets overheated around 50 cents, and can then just chill for a little bit and then make another move, trying to attack that 55 and 60 cent mark in the future. So that is kind of incentive token there. Let's jump over to HEX on PulseChain. Obviously, this is on PulseChain as well, so it's got the longer term narrative around the Magic Art Ride and, of course, the sacrifice ETH. Remember, 171,000 ETH approximately. That excludes any of the other potentialities which Richard Hart might use over time. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to use any of his personal stuff, like his Bitcoin from March 2011, assuming he's holding all that still as one of the great OGs of all-time holders. And, of course, ETH mining from 2016. And, of course, their AA lobby for 351 days from HEX, from the 2nd of December through to, the 19th, I think it was, of November 2020. So all that ETH potentially, depending on how that was recycled through, how much is left after the big, 13 parabolics and all the rest of it. Some people talking about 1 million ETH during that time. Who knows? But any of those variables are possible, or part thereof, right? So we'll see what happens in the future around that. Will we get a mega parabolics? We've got crypto pay in house there. Let's go. But at a very minimum, let's think about that 171,000 ETH that potentially could be used if you're in that camp. Some people in the camp that will never be used. But Richard's kind of given us indications last year of a $10,000 mark seems to be pretty something he likes. So keep a lookout for that. And we're still pretty bullish about where ETH's going to head over 26, 27. And definitely those price targets seem quite reasonable. We've got the ETH ratio to Bitcoin at the moment around 0.29, but I think that's going to get really shook up to the upside. And so we could get, especially with Bitcoin rallies again back over 100K, we could see ETH, start rallying up to that 5, 10, 12 to 20K mark. So we've got lots of different scenarios along there, which that could really do well. And of course, we get a complete network re-rate for Ethereum, then we could go up to 60K, right? 60K Ethereum there quite easily. And I know some people even more optimistic about 80K at the top, perhaps at the top of the cycle, at least maybe within the next 3 to 5 years. So that's kind of the play there. We've got HEX on PulseChain sitting currently at 0.2 of a penny, looking pretty nicely. We've been up at 22, almost 2300th of a penny. So HEX is looking pretty good there on the weekly. We're coming off the bottom as well, slightly stronger. Didn't quite go into the fully oversold period there. We bounced off 31, 32, and we're up at 35, 36. So a little bit stronger there, which is a bullish sign in some ways that it didn't go down as far as Inc. and PulseX. But off the bottom there, we've been as high as 73% up. We're currently up 51%. So along with PulseX is the other really strong performer from the bottom, up 50%, just like PulseX was, and about 3 points stronger than Inc. was, right? Maybe Inc. will play Takeoff, but we did see that it's a bit more squeezed on the RSI room, and PulseX and HEX looking like it's got plenty of room to move. So that's kind of on the weekly there. Let's jump over to the daily. Obviously, daily there, we've got the RSI at 57. We're obviously bouncing off a higher low here at just under 1800 or 1800ths of a penny. And we're currently back at 0.2 of a penny, looking pretty good to the upside. Looks like there's got plenty of room to move. 4 hour as well is sitting at 60. Looks like a decent amount of room to move as well. Certainly to attack again that 2200th of a penny mark. And if we look at the daily, plenty of room to go even higher than that. And so we could start really challenging. You see that when we got rejected, we had quite a bit of support at that level back in January. We got rejected there, and so we could have another attack of that and get over 25. So quarter of a penny again would be the next natural target there. But I think we've probably got even a bit more room potentially to target 2700 on the horizontal, where you can see we had good support up in this level here as well. So nice little horizontal targets there. Alternatively, you could have looked at some Fibonacci's from the bottom, which we may do. Maybe do it in another video. We'll see. So that is the old PulseChain. Looking at the 4 hour there for HEX, we're at 60, like I say. Got plenty of room to move here. So we're going to keep elevating, keep lifting over the rest of the weekend, US time. Now, eHex, of course, is, Hex's poor cousin, poor cousin eHex. This is the original OG. This is the original 10,000X coin. And it's not getting as much love as it used to be. But is it actually a hidden gem? Is it actually a hidden gem? That's the question, right? So let's pull up Fat Sammy's post. We've got Fat Sammy post. And let's go pull that up, and we'll talk about that too. I'm not sure where I've put that, but let's see if we can hunt him down. Fat Sammy. There he goes, Fat Sammy. And fine gentleman, as you can see there from the UK. And let's have a look. There he is in live action. Live action. It looks like he's in Pride and Prejudice or Sense and Sensibility, doesn't he? Some of that landscape behind him. Probably AKA Fat Sammy, AKA Mr. Darcy. Maybe something like that for those that love the romantics. But let's have a look at his post here on the 15 hour. And we can jump into the old HEX there and talk about that. We'll come back to Fat Sammy's point of view. But at the moment, we've got eHex bouncing off, 00057. And we're basically up at 000, just below 0007 at the moment, 7,000. So we're just below that right now. Let's have a look what we're coming off on the bottom of that. And we're up only about 21%. So definitely the worst performer out of all the cores, right? So not getting the love it deserves, and it's probably feeling a bit lonely, to be honest. Jokes aside. CryptoPay says, let's go indeed. All right, so let's jump over to where it is. So that's HEX right now on the weekly. RSI is even stronger though, so it didn't even go down as far as the Pulse peers. They all went down near 30 or below. I think PHEX was down at 32. Here we only got down at 36, so even a bit better on the RSI performance. We're now at 38. We did have a nice little spike up to 8,200. We're now at 7,000 right now in the last week. That's in the last week there. Look at the daily. We're sitting at 50, so definitely got a lot of room to move. Some of the others were sitting at 60 on the RSI on the daily, so we definitely got some room to move there. And let's see whether this can do a bit of catch up. 4 hours there, we're sitting on the 47, 48, so definitely low on that time frame. So a lot of chance to actually move up if someone's going to make it happen. Not inevitable though, right? Not inevitable. So looking at the eHex ratio to eHex, so eHex to PX, we can see we're down at 0.34. So not getting much love at all compared to what the hell. So people are saying, okay, I can see maybe there's a difference between PX and eHex. Typically it's been the S load function and the staking value, but obviously, HEX and gas prices are down. Obviously, PHEX is down as well in gas prices. So how big should it be? Should it be 0.99? But it's down all the way down here at 0.35 and not getting a lot of love there at all at the moment. So that brings us to Fat Sammy. So let's see what Fat Sammy says about this. He's been commentating on eHex the last couple of days. I did a video on one of his earlier posts a couple of days ago. But he says eHex daily charts looks like an asset that is compressing after a long decline. So let's look at some of that. So we got definitely had a long decline down here in terms of the 4 hourly. So let's go to the longer view. We'll have a look at the monthly chart there. So we definitely had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months looking more like the ETH charts, right? Less like the PulseChain charts. But definitely down for 5 months in a row, and now is showing a bit of life, just like the rest of the charts here. And he says, compressed after a long decline. These structures usually end with one large directional move. Downside becomes limited while upside potential expands. So, are we going to get quite a strong move here? Definitely on the monthly, we're down at 40 on the RSI. On the weekly, we're at 38, a bit more elevated than some of the Richard R cores on PulseChain. The daily they're sitting around 50, so it's definitely plenty of room to move. We've certainly got the higher low in there at 6,500, so 6,500, and on the shorter time frames, also down at 50, got a good chance to move up as well. So a bit of catch up there. So these structures usually end with one large directional move. Downside becomes limited while the upside potential expands. And so maybe there's a really untapped potential there. Maybe a market maker will decide to try and make that happen and realize some of those gains. Before 2020, 2021's massive rally, it also formed a large compression wedge. Once it broke out, price moved extremely quickly. And of course, you remember 2021, 13 parabolics going in there. And of course, we did have the New Year's Eve candle as well. Thank you, aka Richard Up. So that's pretty cool. That's the behavior of assets with high staking. So we know there's 92% of HEX staked. It's pretty similar on PHEX and eHex. There's a slight difference between percentages. Low liquid float. Obviously, we've talked about liquidity on the HEX. So let's go up to HEX here and have a look at HEX. So we can see HEX is at 1.64 million. So it's definitely, this is PHEX, by the way. It's definitely got the lower level of liquidity. I think the eHex is about half of that, if I remember rightly, maybe 700-800K. You can double check that number, but it's definitely a lot smaller, I believe. And I think someone was talking about there being larger liquidity with eHex, but of course that was an old LP position that had made, I don't know, $1 million or something, 1.3 million, and forgot to claim its fees back or something. And it could have been sitting there during the good times of PulseChain. So pretty interesting stuff there with that. So we've got low liquid float. So I think we can confirm that's relatively, even on PHEX, is relatively small, and eHex, I'm pretty sure is, I'm just taking off the top of my head, but something like 700, 800K maybe, something like that. You can go and add them up. But that's kind of the play there on that. Now, what's the other one we got there? Fragmented liquidity. I'm not entirely sure what he means by that. Maybe on V3 pools or something. I'm not sure. If Fatsam's just jumped in the chat there, good morning. Let us know what you mean by that. It's the only one that's a little bit lost there. Which HEX still has? HEX has been outperforming ETH all of 2026 is the position there. And so at the moment, when we look at the weekly, we're going to US dollars. We don't have the ETH version here, but obviously versus US dollars, it is down, just pumping back up to 0007. Don't have the ETH chart here, so we'll have to bypass all that. Yesterday, a panic seller dumped 25 million. Now, I think we can probably see that in the chart. If we go to the daily, and we can see, that red candle there. It's probably referring to there, and that was a big dump. What we went from 7,900 all the way down to 6,500. Yep, and it was followed by a few other weak-handed sellers yesterday during the general local crypto pullback, but buyers came in instantly and pushed us back up. Now we do see that in the chart there. Oh, sorry, we do see that in the chart there. Fatsami says fragmented liquidity there. Buy and sell liquidity for HEX is spread across many different pools and chains, right? Yeah, there's quite a few pools there. That's why I said someone can go add them all up. But I think it's about 700-800K. You can let me know, Fatsami. I'm sure you've probably looked at that recently. All right, so that is where we are there. What else we got there? But buyers came in instantly, pushed it back up. Price is now retesting and bouncing off the top of a descending wedge we broke out of as support. This could be the spring we need to launch. Now, some people, of course, are completely pro PHEX, and of course, that is the Richard chain. Other people, of course, see a lot of optimism around eHex, and we can see kind of that wedge breaking out there, those blue lines there. Breaking out there and also moving across the moving averages there, which I'm not quite sure what they are on this chart, but definitely moving higher on that one. So let's go to the eHex there. Let's add in our own moving average EMA, and we'll do the same what we've been doing with the others. And let's go to that, and we're going to change that to 21, but let's do the turquoise. You guys know I love the turquoise for the 21, and we're going to move up there with the 21. Now you can use other averages. I often for short term I use a 9 and 34. Long term you can use the 50 to 200 for golden crosses, death crosses. But we're just sticking here with the 21 moving average for trader flexibility, and it's such a great moving average 3 weeks, right? So we're sitting over that at the moment on the eHex. So it's also looking pretty strong, and this is on the daily, and we also got the RSI 51 there. Moving at the shorter time frames, 4 hour, certainly looking good too at the 48. And we're just below the moving average on the 4 hourly there. So something we'd be wanting to look at over the next sort of 12 to 16 hours is a move across this 21 EMA here on the 4 hourly chart, feeding in, of course, into this moving average strength for the daily, which has got plenty of room to move on the outside. Weekly, of course, likewise, all the way down to 38. Slightly higher than the other PulseChain calls on PulseChain, but certainly looking potentially for good. Now, will we see a market maker? We have seen market makers manipulate eHex in the past, and of course, with ETH down itself right now at 1950, any recovery in ETH is obviously going to be a nice pickup for eHex as well. So, spend a little time on the old eHex, but it is quite a debated question about that. Fat Sammy says, I think about 960 million eHex to buy on all pools. On all chains, says Fat Sammy. Yeah, because you got to add up the eHex on Ethereum and the Bridgestone stuff on PulseChain, right? So I bought Hex in January, says Hex.com. Nice. And I love the name there, Hex.com in Bulgaria. Nice one there. All right. So that is pretty interesting. The old battle. I certainly think that the ratio is rather bizarre. And I haven't really seen a good argument for that. We're down 0.34. Why so low? It's pretty crazy on that. So if you got any views on that, I think it's kind of a bit crazy to be that wide apart. Maybe it should be 0.99 or 0.95. But yeah, pretty crazy down 35 there at the moment. Obviously, ETH is down, but Pulse is getting a bit of recovery. But certainly, this seems way apart from where it should be. Let's go to the monthly chart, and we can see, the last time we were looking good was way back in 24. In fact, the best month, October there, on this chart was up at 92. So 92%, that seemed a lot more reasonable in terms of close ratio, but it's certainly getting discounted now. And maybe just people were just, Richard Hart sign of approval on PulseChain, and that's where we live. And obviously LP liquidity plays a role into that. That's kind of the play. Now, if we look at some of the, now where's it going here? We got some other stuff here. We took look liquidity. We obviously got this in terms of HEX. We've got this big HEX OA stake coming out. So this is 33 billion HEX. It's coming out on the 17th of March. No doubt on both chains. This one's PulseChain from the looks of it, but that's going to be pretty interesting as well. It's got about 1 million T shares. And to put that in context, let's go have a look at the HEX stats, and we can see that we've got about 43 million T shares sitting on the chain, right? So about 92% of HEX is staked, 43 million T shares. And if we look at the Ethereum side, so that's PulseChain. If we look at Ethereum below, we've got T shares sitting at 42.6 million. So got about 1 million coming out. So yeah, big deal. And we'll see what happens with that. Some people obviously different theories about that. Will it, will it bleed out? Will it, early in-stake it? All sorts of stuff out there about that. But in any case, if it gets restaked, I wouldn't be surprised, right? So it seems like the play. And if not, could just sit there, but probably just get restaked is my guess. And that's kind of the play. Could be used for liquidity, I guess, as well. We'll find out. But that's coming up on the 17th, which is Tuesday a week from now, I think. Tuesday a week from now. And that's pretty interesting. So there we go. At the moment, as a fundamental utility for HEX, as a CD, you're talking about, what are we talking about here? We've got let's see, where's the T-share rate on this? The APY reward, around 4%. So around 4%, it's pretty competitive in the market in DeFi these days, around 4%. So obviously a price recovery will help a lot with that. But yeah, 3.97% in rewards and early in-stake penalties there. That obviously dampened down by Richard's moves with the OA to lower that yield. It was very high before. But you're seeing a lot of products out in DeFi offering you, 2 to 6%, right? Even the X money came out today looking like 6%. So it's a pretty competitive market for yield. And that's how simple general people will think. The only qualification would be whether you thought that you're going to get a price pump in HEX, right? So that could be to the upside quite dramatically. So that's what people will be thinking about there as well. So T-share price at the moment about $88 as well. So you definitely want to get a better return with the old HEX price pump, which may very well be on the charts right at the moment, sitting in below 2/10 of a penny. We could see that happening as well. Obviously, it's pretty similar yield on the old eHex as well. So really, the upside will be around the supply and demand, and whether we see a reversal in the HEX price, and that would make it pretty damn attractive, wouldn't it? That would make it pretty damn attractive, and we suspect that OA accounts like this won't have too much impact, even if it's a million T shares, because the share rate's going up all the time, and that's relative to about 46,000 46 trillion T shares. What's it? What did I say? A million T shares. I'm going to make sure I don't get myself confused here. A million T shares here, around 43.3 million. So I'm expecting to be a relatively non-event, and so that's kind of where we suspect that to go to. Fat Sammy says that may be lower now. Need to check again after the sell wall was removed. And what else there? Yeah, it will catch up. It has a great trade if you switch it out your PX for EX a few months ago. Well, it still looks pretty damn good now, Fat Sam. That's what I'm saying. It's at 0.34. It still looks pretty good now. eHex still moves up when PulseChain pumps due to being tied. You just get more tokens than buying PHEX. Sellers seemed more exhausted too. You have that catch-up ratio possibly, so I prefer it. Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking. I was thinking it's such a wide gap. And I was like, what is the reason for it? Obviously, liquidity can play a little bit of a role there, I think, because most of it's V2 technology, right? What's mostly V3 offering? 9mm. No one's really using that. So, well, not 9mm, 9-inch I was thinking about. 9mm, possibly a little bit in there. I don't think there's that much liquidity in there. Most of it's on the DEX. Yeah, so this seems like a potential opportunity there. Because you think about the Magic Cartwright, it's really something that's further out in the future. And while the ETH is down here at 1954, you could use some of the ETH now and make tactical plays to the upside. But regardless, if we as Richard's waiting to move until it gets to 5K at the minimum, let alone 10K, like you talked about in the video, that's something still much further down the field there. So we might see some eHex story. So it's definitely a big story amongst the Richard cores. So what do we got? We got PulseChain on the move right now at 4%, looking pretty good. A bit of a takeoff going on in the old PulseChain. Losing that zero is pretty psychologically important. We got PulseX performing, slightly underperforming, but with a lot more upside potential. INC already leading the way a little bit there, but still plenty of room to move. HEX also, PHEX also got plenty of room to move as well. And then eHex there potentially could have a dramatic re-rate at some stage in the future, right? This chart here has been a lot worse, guys. It's been a lot worse. I mean, look, it's been at 0.15, and so that ratio trade that Fat Sammy's talking about, has been quite good. So what do you got? A few months ago. So that ratio trade has been pretty good for eHex anyway, but it still just seems way underpriced. So we'll see how that goes. Now I'm trying to find the inverse here. Let's go to the inverse pair. And you can see 2.87, so pretty crazy as well. So let's see what happens to 1.1 PHEX equals 2.877 eHex there. So I know it could be something in that, and we get it reverted down to the downside. We have got a bit of a downtrend going here. Maybe we keep that up. We could keep going down to 1, close to 1-to-1. So we'll see what happens there in the future, and the markets will decide. Obviously, we're expecting Ethereum to pump. But as the relative liquidity on PulseChain, meaning that the PX always going to win out there in the day. But certainly S-load function doesn't seem to have much to me unless we had some massive change in the gas prices in the future on Ethereum, which I don't see playing out too much in terms of where the technology is going. All right, so that's some interesting stuff there. How are we doing for time? We're doing about 45 minutes. I think it's pretty good. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. And of course, we didn't do any other moving averages. This is the 21 moving average. We just used some horizontal targets there. We didn't use something more exotic like Fibonacci extensions. Maybe we can do that in another video. But certainly that is, we got that. Looks like it's really getting a bit of a pep in it, a bit of a takeoff in it, and psychologically getting rid of those 4 zeros. PulseChain will be a much bigger deal, getting rid of the 4 zeros. Still got 2 more ranges to go by my counts. So let's see how we get on over the next few days. But not bad, not bad. So just wrapping that up on the daily. We've got 2 more green days. Are we going to get like a 4-day stringer? We've certainly got the room for it. So maybe 4 or 5 day stringer there. Get that moving up and take off time. Also, similarly for PulseX, we had 4 good days, a retrace, 2 more good days over the 21. Remember, very bullish sign, plenty of room in the outside for another maybe 2, 3, 4 day stringer ahead of us. And that's really starting to get exciting when we start getting 4 days and 4 or 5 days together. We're really starting to get a bit of momentum and takeoff. Incentive token, of course, similarly, all pretty similar, all over the 21 moving average now on the daily. And of course, we don't have that on the HEX. Let's add in the EMA just before we wrap up. And let's change that around. Go to 21 moving average on the PHEX. This PHEX we're looking at. We'll go to the turquoise as my favorite color. And let's leave it at that. And so we're nicely looking good over here on the old, let's go to the daily though to keep it all the same. Yeah, similar 4 days, 2 green days over the 21, real strong on the old PHEX. So PHEX looking good, man, for a move higher. We're up 8%, catching up the old ink token while we're doing the live stream, for goodness sake. And then eHex there as well, currently below on the weekly, but just above, sorry, on the daily there for eHex. Will we get a bit of a catch-up there play? Definitely feels like there is a catch-up play there if you're there at the right time, that you could get quite nice mad gains there because it just seems well underpriced versus PHEX. All right, so food for thought there. Food for thought. Keep a track of Fat Sammy. Fat Sammy's doing some great commentary on the older eHex side of it, and there are a couple of people on the PHEX side of things, so you can get the conversations there as well. I'm going to leave a copy to that to Fat Sammy in the chat there. He's been a great contributor, and it's been good being able to talk about some of his work there as well. So don't forget to give Fat Sammy a follow on X. Fat Sammy 4 it is on X. And you can just type that in and find that straight away. So nice one there. All right, game's on. Feels like something exciting is happening, right? And overall, that's the overall there. Looking pretty green on the old PulseChain. Got to feel good about that. Well, crypto's pretty slightly down on the majors. So PulseChain offering some value to the upside off the bottom and a low base. But recovering, like we said, recovering somewhere between 35 and 50% from the bottom so far. And let's see if we can string on a couple more days for this next wave up, and get close to a 2x on some of the charts, maybe on the HEX chart, the PulseX chart, things like that. So stay tuned, keep a lookout. GetX got the thumbs up there, nice. Pulse Bitcoin as well, thanks, most welcome there, and we'll catch you on the next show. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Take care, everybody. Oh, by the way, Monster Thread number 44 is out tomorrow. So if you're a team out there, you want to get in touch with us, let us know. All right, take care and bye for now.